A moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. I'm going to start with round one of citizen concerns. Anybody to speak to something that is not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. I'll move that.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Taylor. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Moving on to the consent agenda, items 3 through 7 constitute a consent agenda of routine action items to be considered by one motion. Items pass unanimously unless a separate vote is requested by a board member. Item 3, approval of the minutes of March 1st, 2022 meeting. Item 4, approval of claims. Item 5 from the Treasurer's Office. A is approve property tax refund requests for parcel in the agenda in the amount of $23, and B, approve property tax refund request for the parcel in the agenda in the amount of $125.62. Item 6 from Human Resources. A is approval of memorandum of personnel transactions, and B, authorization to initiate hiring process. Item 7 from Secondary Roads, approve the permit to work in the right-of-way for CF Industries and direct the chair to sign the permit. Any discussion on anything on the consent agenda?
I'd move it.
I'll second. Motion by Taylor, second by Raddick. No other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Moving on to item 8 from the Deputy Commissioner of Elections, Steve Hoffmeyer, canvass of the Lawton, Bronson, and Westwood Special School elections.
Hi, Steve Hoffmeyer with the Auditor's Office. I've got the canvas of those two special elections and the abstract of votes here for you guys to receive and sign off on.
Move to receive.
Second. Motion by DeWitt, second by Raddick. Any discussion on that, or do we want to look at it all first? Is it about a certain item there, Karen? Oh, okay.
Anybody want to look at it before I?
All right.
Both of those elections passed with a yes vote. It was a public measure in each one. They were the save, how they spend the extra 1% tax dollars that are paid to the schools. So there were no absentee ballots even issued or received, and no provisionals. So it's just whoever showed up at the polls that day.
That's a 90% and 91% passing on both of those. So I'll go ahead and seeing no other discussion, we can, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, passes 5-0. And how many we got to sign? Just 2 of them, was it?
Nah, there's about a half a dozen, maybe.
A dozen, okay.
2 copies of each one there.
All right, moving on to item 9 from Tina Bertrand, County Treasurer, approval to change budget line items that are listed in the agenda. Go ahead.
Good evening, Tina Bertrand, Woodbury County Treasurer. We were doing a review of the budget and the revenue line items. So in an in-depth review, what we looked at was for, based on the current amounts due for penalties and interest, we believe that the initial budget was a little bit lower, and some of that just has to do with we have more information, more data now than we did when we actually prepared the budget. With anticipated increase in interest rates coming out probably within the next week, we do believe that some of our investments will be able to collect a little bit more money. We have taken a strategy that for 2021 and 2022, some of those CDs that did come up for that reached their maturity level or maturity dates, that we were only reinvesting for 12 months or shorter periods, only because interest rates were so low. We're trying to take advantage of other investment opportunities to increase some of that revenue. And then the last one is just with the motor vehicle registration fees. Again, just taking a look at some of the historical information and what the current auto values are right now, because we've seen a pretty high increase that has actually impacted the fees that we're collecting, because some of our fees are actually driven by the values of vehicles. So looking at all the budget line items, we felt very comfortable that being able to increase the budgets on those 3 line items were warranted. So we just ask that consider it and move it.
What was the dollar amount there in that?
How much was it? Total, it was $95,000.
Okay.
Want the breakdown on each one of them?
Sure.
Sure. Okay, so we're doing about 80,000 in the penalties and interest column, about 10,000 in the interest, and about 5,000 in the auto vehicles.
I will readjust the numbers for revenue in next year's budget. This will have effect of either going into reserves or covering expenses if expenses come up in the current proposed budget or whatever. So this is additional revenue. They'll either go for additional expenses being incurred or reserves for potential next year, whatever happens.
So I'd move to increase the total to budgeted revenue of $95,000.
Second. Motion by Taylor, second by Young. Any other discussion on that? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0. Anyone else going to find some more money for us?
They're always looking.
Oh, okay.
I kind of communicate with them. We're going.
Well, we're still short of the 3 minutes here. Dan, did you want to? So 11A, receive final staff report and planning and zoning commission's recommendation for their 2/8/22 meeting.
Well, good evening, Supervisors. Dan Priestley's CED zoning coordinator. This is the Infinite View addition. The applicant is Gwendolyn Hodges. She's owner of parcel number 8747-152-00002. Basically, she filed this minor subdivision for a 3-lot where she's basically cutting off the homestead and having the 2 remaining lots be in farming. The proposed use is to continue farming it. This is in a Zone A floodplain. The county engineer basically found the proposal in compliance with Iowa code closure requirements and found that the lots have adequate access. All required legal notifications were made to all the relevant agency stakeholders and property owners within 1,000 feet. As of the first of the month, our office received 3 comments, but none of opposition to the proposal. And the Zoning Commission on the 28th of February sends their recommendation to you for approval of this final plat.
I'll move to receive the final staff report.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, so item B, we got to approve the Infinite View Edition final plat and authorize chairman to sign the resolution. I'll move that.
Second.
I'll go motion by Raddick, second by Ung, although it sounded in stereo. Any discussion on this? Was there a second? Okay. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. All right.
I'd move to set the date and time for 3 public hearings for the proposed zoning ordinance text amendment for March 22nd at 4:40, March 29th at 4:40, and April 5th at 4:40.
So that's the item C on the agenda, and this is about the changes to the floodplain with FEMA, is that correct?
Yes, basically, a classic example of federalism, but the FEMA and the DNR basically work in conjunction with this respective ordinance. We have to follow all federal guidelines when it comes to administering the special flood hazard area. In 2017 in particular, this area Where it comes to accessory structures and the elevation requirements to those were changed under FEMA requirements, where they look at 600 square feet is kind of the threshold in terms of requiring elevation for the respective structures. And that was put in 17. And basically what this is, you may have heard last fall, they're talking about the redoing of the maps. This is kind of a beginning process or a step to get the ordinance up to par with where the maps will be. Because once we get to the newly implemented maps, FEMA would come back to us in the DNR and expect us as a locality to implement this respective ordinance. And so we're kind of looking at it. This has been through the zoning commission several times from 2019 forward. And so they're very well aware of it and also send their recommendation to this respective proposal.
I'll second that. So we have a motion by Taylor, second by Radig. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. So we're back to our 4:40 set time here from Board Administration. Thank you, Dan. 10A is public hearing on the FY23 county maximum property tax dollars.
Okay, we are required by law to have this hearing, and it has to be so many days prior to our public hearing for our total budget. What this does set our maximum tax asking we can have for next fiscal year. It is above the 2 point limits before you have to go to supermajority. So we are 4.79% increase in our general fund, which is general basic, general stuff, and our rural basic, we're 3.44%. So that's above our 2%. So this needs the public hearings now for in favor or against from the public. Then you close it. First you open it, then you close it. So that's this part here. But like I said, it does take a supermajority now under the new laws, so we have to have at least 4 yes votes for this to pass. If it doesn't pass, the consequences are this, because I've checked it out. We'd have to reduce our general fund by $837,000, and we have to reduce rural basic 47,881. But this maximum tax, if it's passed, that is our base for next year to figure the 2% on. So you know, we need the money, but also helps our base in the following year. So, I don't know, anybody from the public talk? Then I guess back to the board.
Are we now in a public hearing, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, we are now in a public hearing. Go ahead.
Seeing no one to speak for or against, I move that the public hearing be closed.
Second.
A motion by Taylor, second by DeWitt. Any discussion on closing the public hearing? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. We are now at item B, approval of a resolution FY23 county maximum property tax dollars.
So moved.
I'll second. Motion by DeWitt, second by Radig. Any discussion on that? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And that passes 5-0. And moving on to item C, which is set the public hearing for the FY23 proposed budget on March 29th, 2022 at 4:45 p.m.
So moved.
I'll second that. Motion by Taylor, second by Radig. Any discussion on that? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, and that passes 5-0. We're moving on now, back down. 12A is from Secondary Roads, approve the contract with Calhoun Burns Associate for bridge inspection for calendar year 2022.
Good afternoon. I'm requesting approval of the contract with Calhoun Burns and Associates. This is for the inspection of our county bridges that are due this year. We have 152 structures that are due for their 2-year inspection. Recommend approval.
I'll move that. Anyone for a second?
Second.
Motion by Radig, second by Taylor. Any discussion on that? That's annual, right?
Yes. They also do our readings when we have a special oversized load going through. They do a very quick turnaround on those type of ratings for us. And we've had a longstanding relationship with Calhoun Burns. They do a very thorough job of checking our bridges annually. So.
All righty. Well, any discussion on this? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that passes 5-0. Moving on to 12B, approved plans for project number Perrin 144.
This is an MPO-funded project. We received $2.125 million from the MPO toward the pavement replacement on Port Neal Road. This project begins where the city project left off at the north end of the DOT rest area on Port Neal Road and continues down to just north of the entrance to the Gelita plant, also on Port Neal Road. We haven't completed the final, or I don't have the final estimated number. We were looking at this being a little over a $3 million project in total. Recommend approval of plans.
I'd move it.
Second, motion by Taylor, second by Raddick. Any discussions on that? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Moving on to item 13 from the county auditor, approved fiscal year 22-23 county parking plan.
The parking plan before you is something I'm supposed to present at the first of the year, but we've decided to start presenting it to you after the budget is submitted so that expenses at the parking ramp are included in that. The only change to the parking plan this year is that we've moved the budget director, tax analyst position from behind the LAC to in the courthouse footprint.
I'd move it.
I'll second. Motion by Taylor, second by Raddick. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Moving on to reports on committee meetings.
No, we have the,
Oh, gosh, sorry.
unless you want to skip that.
My first day. Item 14 from Board of Supervisors, consideration of ordinance relating to the assessment of wind energy conversion property is authorized by Iowa Code, Chapter 427B.26. Though the Iowa House and Senate have yet to pass the clarification, I have been informed it will be passing from those within their respective elected positions from our local region. I just figured since Gleiser was leaving us, I kind of wanted staff to put it on the agenda rather than me and get it done, but I kind of feel like it is an either-or situation at this point. It's going to be clarified as that, so I think we either pass it now or we wait till the state moves on it, then pass it, but I'd rather do it while I had staff, so that's my position. Go ahead.
And I know we've had discussions on this before, but I'm still opposed to it. We've received a legal opinion, and I don't want to speak for Joshua, but that the either or that Mid-American was pushing forward, that it will either be under this ordinance or it'd be replacement tax is not the opinion that we've received. That's the reason Mid-American wants this, right? Is that they know that it wouldn't fall to utility replacement. So is that a fair, I don't want to speak for you, but that it would be most likely locally assessed, or at least there's a preponderance that could very well be, instead of it falling to
I think
utility.
everything points to that, given the current state of the law, it would not be replacement tax if there was not a 427B ordinance in place. There's a Department of Revenue regulation that essentially states that. And prior guidance from the Department of Revenue has stated that as well. It seems like they've backed off of that recently. And to me, the legislation is a acknowledgement that the code, it's either straight up a change in the code or an acknowledgement that the code is not clear on how it's taxed in the absence of the 427. So I will acknowledge that it's, reasonable minds can differ, but we were also asked to visit with outside counsel to see if we could get a conclusive opinion, and they were not willing to say that, no, there's only 427B or the replacement tax, and they acknowledged the open question that's out there.
Thank you. So with that, I think it's the either-or fallacy of the decade, that it's either this or that. It's clearly, Mid-American wants this, so that they will pay no more than 30% into perpetuity. I think that's unfair. And then the other thing is, even if we were, as a majority of the board, and I don't know, it could just be one, in favor of this, I don't know why we wouldn't wait for the legislature instead of preemptively doing anything. So I don't think it's fair to county taxpayers, and that's my position. So I'll be a no on this, but certainly interested in everybody else's thoughts.
I was fine with waiting too, but I just figured we could get it on here and get it done while we had staff to put it on there and do that. So like I said, I was reassured by our local senators and representatives that they do believe it will be clarified as the either or this year. So if we want to wait a couple weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is that it takes to pass. I thought it might happen by today, but that didn't happen. So obviously, I think it would have been easier if it had happened by today, because then we would have known and we could move on. But I don't know if you guys are confident on it or not, but Matthew, I don't know.
I haven't had discussions that you have, so I wouldn't know how reliable that is, but it would make sense since there's a stated, it's been stated that there is some clarity needed. Do we have any indication from the county assessor that she would assess this locally? Has anyone heard that? Because that would be the...
I've talked to her, but not in any great depth about it.
Because that would be how it would be done.
Right, I haven't gotten anything that's definitive. I think the county assessor just waiting to see the wait-and-see attitude that I'm thinking most of us have, so follow the legislature, and then, like I said, there were no great details, but it was kind of a wait-and-see, let's figure it out when we have to, or when there's enough to form a solid opinion.
What could we foresee changing in the ordinance if we waited a week or two until something was signed? Anything?
I didn't see anything. They didn't say anything about changing percentages or any of that, so I think that'll stay at the 30. So
If there's more information coming that's important and it's only going to take a few more weeks, I think we need to wait.
all right, so we'll go ahead and move on to item 15.
This is, that was an action item. Do you want to
I'll move to
defer?
defer. Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. So item 15 is report on committee meetings. Apparently I really want to talk about this. I just kept bringing it up. So.
I had one, Mr. Chair.
Okay, go ahead.
The 3rd Judicial District, we had a good presentation of outreach by Kash Utesh and Sarah Anderson on second chance, beneficial ways that the community can hire those who are out, and really maximizing the fact that we have or we have low unemployment and we have a ready workforce. And so meeting with different employers and giving presentations on why it may be very beneficial from a community standpoint to hire some of these individuals and give them, as the name implies, a second chance. Also, Third Judicial has a 3-year plan, adding 11 positions to client programming, special projects, admin support. They're about 2/3 of the way there, something that was started a couple of years back. So good group, good discussion, and good opportunities.
Rocky, anything down there? No, sir. You guys? All right, I had a special certs meeting. We just had a vote to expand some service in the transit region. I used to work with Cash next time you see her.
Well, I'll tell her you said hey.
Yeah. Moving on to item 16, which is citizen concern round 2. All right. Guy on the phone still or no? All right, so item 17, board concerns.
I have a brief question.
All right.
Should we post the Saturday county convention for
I'm not going,
our party?
I'm not either.
so that would not make a majority unless.
I'm not going. I was wondering, maybe if we have a speaker that's gonna be at which, and we have a,
I can't go, I'm working on Saturday.
I'm not planning to. I'm not going to the one.
All right.
I'm not sure.
I'm gonna try to go, but I'll probably be a little bit later than starting point, but.
Did you say you were?
I was a maybe on the county convention.
What's that? Maybe.
Yeah.
But no on the Saturday deal.
Okay. All right.
So, good questions though.
I don't know yet.
Did you have anything then? Okay, then you do, go ahead.
Oh, are we to board concerns?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring up, I had some questions concerning the law enforcement center, some of the news media talking about potential other buildings, county mental health building, functions that are in Trosper-Hoyt, treasurer's office, DHS, and the question was asked, what's kind of the scope and the authority of the law enforcement center authority? So had some good discussions lately, clarifying questions. So I think it's good, and I spoke with Ronwick today, to understand that there's no budget for any of this in terms of no authority to spend money outside of the current contract, that these are merely discussions of potential land use, that anything related to the treasurer's office, DHS, would all have to come before the Board of Supervisors for long-term planning. I did get an amendment to the agreement, I'm sure you've seen this, Rocky, but that talks about Goldberg Group doing a phase 2 and 3, including but not limited to housing expansion, juvenile detention, mental health treatment facility, maintenance facility, and other justice-related building improvements. But thought it was a good clarifying conversation that none of these have any funding. There's no bond approval for any of this. This is just getting a future land use, for lack of a better term. And even like the county mental health, there was a presentation, I spoke with our CEO of the region and our largest provider, about $5 to $6 million of an annual budget. There's no money for that from the region or anywhere else. So just so the public is aware, these are good and laudable long-term kind of land use footprint things, but there's nothing outside of that authority that's really being entertained to pass, if that makes sense. If that's, just because I've been getting some questions about that, I just wanted that to be clarified.
All right. You have anything down there?
Yeah, Mr. Guild is, I got a call from Community Action Agency of Siouxland on their, for their people that they want for their board as the proposed supervisor district.
Yes,
they should hang
I
there.
talked to them today.
Okay,
They got it.
because I talked to one of them at about noon.
Yes, this
It must have been
afternoon.
after that, maybe.
Yes. Yep.
I think that was all I had.
I did hear a rumor they're looking at a hockey rink over by the LEC, new LEC.
On a slope, yeah.
Just Ice Center or something.
We're gonna have it uphill and downhill.
All right.
Sorry. All right, with that, we're adjourned. Thank you.